because today is the day and New York City is the place. Today is the day when we say to the nations of the world, enough! Enough! 21 million deaths from AIDS is enough! 36 million people around the world infected with the HIV virus is enough! This coming week, the United Nations' first ever General Assembly special session on HIV/AIDS will submit their resolution on their response to the global AIDS plague. Before they do, they will hear the demands of their citizenry. We affirm the demands of people living with HIV/AIDS in the global south for access to care, treatment, and support.
We are here to discuss an unprecedented crisis, but one that has a solution. An unprecedented response from all of us. We are here to agree on the action we will take. And that is why I have called for a global AIDS and health fund open to both governments and private donors to help us finance the comprehensive, coherent, coordinated strategy we need.
The Global Fund kicked off in June of 2001. Kofi Annan made a call for more money to address the 3 diseases, and shortly thereafter, donors got interest in the whole thing as something that's promising to bridge the gap of the global health crisis.
The fund is over $500 million and growing to $1 billion with some of the contributions I heard about today. And as we are able to, we would add more money to the trust fund as we went forward.
When you come to look at the question of AIDS and you say $16 per capita throughout Africa, and you know that many countries are spending $5 or less per capita on healthcare and official spending, you really get a sense of how limited is the capacity for contribution in many of these countries.
The estimate that we made in UNAIDS of the needs for low and middle income countries to contain this epidemic are between $7 and $10 billion. And so the gap, the 5-fold increase that the world needs will come from a variety of sources. The budgets of the developing countries themselves, public, private, money that is freed up from debt relief, irregular bilateral and multilateral channels, and then there is the fund.
We call on the United States and other wealthy countries to invest multiple billions in grants to the Global AIDS Fund and to national AIDS plans in developing countries. We call on the World Bank and the IMF to cancel 100% of the debt owed to them by all impoverished countries heavily impacted by HIV/AIDS. Stay with me, people, stay with me. We call on the United States and other wealthy countries to ensure access to life-saving AIDS medications, including generically manufactured drugs at the lowest possible cost.
I have been very clear right from the beginning that we need to open up this organization, we need to bring the UN closer to the people, and we need to work in partnership with civil society, with the private sector, foundations, and I think I have demonstrated that I'm determined to do that.
We're standing in front of the UN, having just been thrown out. We had a press conference with organizations from around the world to talk about the urgency of getting people treatment now. The pace of deliberations here didn't reflect the urgency of what's happening on the ground, and we decided to try to bring some of that urgency to the negotiations.
Pills cost pennies, greed costs lives, billions for the fund, or millions die. Pills cost pennies, greed costs lives, billions for the fund, or millions die.
The response of the security forces at the UN was to take our ID away so that we can no longer participate as members of civil society.
Pills cost pennies, greed costs lives, pills cost pennies, greed costs lives, billions for the fund, or millions die. I'm going to assume that we want to, everybody wants their accreditation back, although it probably was the most productive 5 minutes we've spent in that building.
I think that it's been the grassroots groups and individuals, people living with HIV, that have sparked the social forces that have demanded this UNGAS session. This is not really a result of just top-level UN officials or governments all of a sudden realizing that there's a catastrophe in the world. It's because they felt pressured by grassroots groups.
Ladies and gentlemen, two paths lead from this special session. One, a path that leads to unimaginable loss, and the other, a path of commitment and hope. Distinguished delegates, you have a choice. The world looks for your leadership.